Hey everyone, I'm here with Dominic Kent. Dom, it's been a while since I had you here. Do you want to introduce? Well, everyone knows you, but just in case, can you introduce yourself?
I don't think everybody knows me. I'm Dominic Kent. I'm a freelance content marketer in the UC slash CC slash collaboration slash AV, whatever we want to call it, industry. I write blog posts, white papers, and I do a bit of content marketing strategy for people like Zoom, Ring Central, Freshworks, anybody that's in this space I work with or would like to work with in the future. I think last time I was on was the team collaboration comparison document we put together, which had all the vendors and all their stuff, which was a serious document, a great video, and now all the features have changed.
Yeah, but it's still getting views. That video, people like that.
Yeah, it's kind of why I've put together the state of Microsoft Teams above my head because so much has changed, not just in Teams, but across all the collaboration platforms. It's extremely hard to keep up, even as someone that spends all their time in the industry. There was some things that I was looking at and I went, oh, you know what? I'd forgotten about that, or I didn't actually know that had happened. So it was a therapeutic process for me and a learning process just the same.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging. A final thing on your bio. I'll just say that you are one of the hottest writers in the space, and we are the same height in real life. I didn't use video editing to try to check in. We're the exact same height in real life, right?
Yeah, all the photos we've got next to each other are photoshopped. I am taller because of Photoshop.
Yes, this is real. But let's dig into this report. This came across my LinkedIn feed. Like Dominic wrote something new. I got to check it out. And this is quite comprehensive. It is, I mean, well, if it has a table of contents, I'm like, oh no, you went deep. And
Yeah.
you did. It goes on and on and on. There's a lot of content here. By the way, I love your use of images and video. Just make it easier for me to read. I don't want to feel like I'm in school. I just want to see the information I have. But
It
wow, what
wasn't
a
designed to be a
report.
textbook.
No, it's designed to be readable, but there is a textbook's worth of content here. So what inspired you to, what made you think we need this?
So I needed it more than anything, I think. I work with so many different UC vendors, one, but secondly, so many Teams vendors that do contact centers, analytics, call recording, consultancy. They do building Copilot virtual agents, things like that. There were so many things, so many different moving pieces in the Teams world or the wider Microsoft ecosystem world that it's become a little bit unmanageable for me to know where everything is in one place, but also users, right? Maybe admins more so than users. They don't know what's going on because there's so much going on. If you look at the change logs and things like that, that Microsoft are rolling out a new feature like every couple of days, and it's impossible to push them all through to your business. Like I think it's widely accepted. You're not going to get a new feature when it comes out. If you're an enterprise of 10,000 users, it's just not going to happen, right? But you still need to know about it. You need maybe a library is kind of the right word. But you don't want to check in and out a book like in a library. You just want to click something and go Control F or whatever it is on Mac. Um, Contact center, find it there. So that's kind of the goal of it. I want it to be the place where everything you need to know about Teams at a glance lives. Um, and I think it kind of doubles up for vendors and marketers and solution architects as a place to go and check out what other options are available for their particular element. Like I featured all those certified contact center providers. That will grow. So as soon as someone else is new, I'll add them in there. The same for all the other products and third-party products that are in there. So yeah, it's going to be a living document. It's mainly for me, but I wanted it to be of the quality that I could share it with everybody who needs to touch Teams, really.
Yeah, and I want to give sometimes some things I like about LinkedIn, some things I don't. But this kind of format, the living documents to be able to update it all the time. We need that, especially since we've started this conversation. Microsoft has released 3 new versions of Copilot. I mean, it is
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
it's impossible to
I
keep
was
up. But we can at least this gives us we can keep up with some of it. They're not coming up with
Yeah.
3 new contact centers every day, but they are coming up with too many Copilots. They need to slow down.
Yeah, I was at Comsverse last week, which is the UK's biggest Teams. I'm not going to call it a conference, it's more of a community meetup. It's really community driven. Mark Vail runs it. It's really good. Um, they had a session called Ask the MVPs Anything, and the anything was just how do I use Copilot effectively? How can I justify the ROI of Copilot? What do I tell my CTO to make him sign off on Copilot? Those were the it was I think it was like a 45-minute session. We spent all of our time talking about that. There are so many different pieces of Copilot. Nobody knows what to do with it. Tim Banting's post today on LinkedIn reads, despite the hype, most AI adoption in unified comms and customer experience remains stuck between early enthusiasm and operational reality. Now, Tim's a very good writer, but I thought that was really good. Stuck between enthusiasm and operational reality. And it's true.
But there's reason for the enthusiasm, despite everything that they're doing wrong. The power is unbelievable. I just put a video of using AI for Excel.
Mm-hmm.
With Kevin Keeler, we do our AI chefs thing, and it's there. It's in Excel. It's not once they get it right and once they get it implemented. No, you're in
Yeah.
Excel. You open up your panel. You're in PowerPoint. You open up the panel and you say, I feel lazy. Make this PowerPoint for me. It's about this presentation I'm giving, and all of a sudden you have a PowerPoint, and you have to fix it. But it's real and it's there. So the enthusiasm, I think, is totally warranted. But yes, there's so much confusion involved of not should I use it. I don't think, but how do I use it? Which
Yeah.
Copilot?
I think maybe one thing that I would change if I had the time to write this again, I would make a separate version of the state of Copilot because there are so many Copilots, so many different use cases. There needs to be a section on how to write a business case for my 3,000 users that want it, what to do with the 450 of those that don't use it enough to justify the business case, etc., etc. Maybe I'll do that at one point. Um, Maybe for a client, that would be nice. But I think I would then be straying too far out of Teams to include it in this report. So I think it needs to stand alone. I did touch on Copilot a fair bit, but I think because of exactly as Tim said, we are stuck between adoption enthusiasm and real adoption. I've not got much real world access to comment or use any data or anything like that. I know Microsoft put a model together for the finance sector, the law sector, et cetera, of what that would look like if you spent $30 per lawyer or whatever, you would get back this much in productivity, and the numbers were phenomenal. However, now that we are in the real world, I would like to take that model and say, actually, this law firm that is using it is saving this much time, making this much more money, et cetera, et cetera. We don't really see much of that yet. So I think we're still a little too early in the adoption cycle, maybe even the hype cycle, to confidently make comment on it and include it in this report.
So I'll wrap up the Copilot part by saying it's hard not to talk about Copilot when you talk about Teams because they're making it a big marketing. It's a big selling part of Teams is Copilot, Copilot, Copilot. But it's hard to talk about Copilot because it's its own thing. So let's try to go beyond Copilot because there's a lot in this report that has nothing to do with Copilot. I mean, there was a massive section. I learned so much about Microsoft Phone. Should we get into that or?
Yeah, so I think Teams Phone is I don't know what the right word is. It's maybe the sleeping giant of Microsoft Teams. There's 320 million daily, not daily, monthly active users of Teams. That number, we haven't had a new number for at least 18 months. We may be on 24 months now since we've had a new active number. And I think in the report I said, do we care that we haven't had a new number? Probably not. It's massive. It's going to
Yeah.
be more. It's not going to be less. We don't care about that. The Teams Phone element, though, we've got 80 million Teams Phone users, and a fraction of those use it for full PSD and calling. And I think there's such a huge gap in between the two that it's crying out for for multiple vendors to say, look, you've got whatever, let's plug into this or let's use our operator connect. We can do more with Teams Phone. And I've got a lot of clients that do something to do with Teams Phone, and they're all marketing it very differently based on their verticals and everything like that, which is the right way to do things. But I'm curious as to why there's such a gap between Teams phone, full Teams phone adoption and generic Teams adoption. Now, not everybody uses the phone. I haven't made a PSTN call myself for ages. I'm an outlier. I'm a company of one, but scheduling of meetings replaces a lot of PSTN calls. I think the main source of Teams phone users that we do see are call center, contact center, informal contact center type deployments where inbound calls are the lifeblood of the sales operation or customer experience operation. Um, is Teams doing enough when it comes to contact center? No. Do they need to? Probably not, because there are all these third party options, right?
So many contact center. I don't know what's more exciting is phone or contact center in our industry lately. It seems everyone, well, not everyone, but the new players in this space are growing well with phone. I mean, Zoom is doing massive with phone. Microsoft Teams is doing massive with phone. Ring Central, they're not changing their name away from their phone name. You know, it's Ring Central. So much growth, and phone kind of confused me. I was thinking about a session Elka from Frost and Sullivan was giving and talking about how much we still have so much on-prem PSTN ancient dinosaur phone systems, and she wasn't talking about migrating away from them. She's talking about how they're still supporting them and still using them, and I'm like, why? And it's like and I think part of it is just it's in place, it's there, you know, it's working. They don't want to break it, but it seems crazy to me because you know it's just, you know, VoIP is just so easy and so simple and so much better in every possible way. So much more manageable, so much more scalable, higher quality. And no, the migration is, I thought the migration was over 10 years ago. It's barely starting, it seems like. It's crazy. So much opportunity out there.
Yeah, especially in the North America region. I don't know the exact stats anymore, but I think it was something like 4% of all phone calls were still made of business phone calls were still made with on-premise systems. That's quite an old stat. I don't know if it's grown or shrunk, but there are specific industries like finance and law which you'd expect to kind of lag a little when it comes to tech, but with all the data compliance regulations and where you store customer details and things like that, they have to, or let's say have to, stay on premises for an amount of time, depending on whatever regulations they're abiding by. I think there's also the element of if it works, why would you need to replace it, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't need all these shiny features, and the more features you throw at them, the more complex it becomes, and it becomes a turnoff, right? Maybe they don't need AI transcription, they just need to answer the phone. And if that's working for them and their contract is so low per call, per phone line, whatever, why would they change it?
That makes sense. I want to get into contact center because actually I skimmed the report. I read the report, but there was, you know, it was a lot of it. Some of it I skimmed, and the contact center thing. I'd love you to give me a little more insight on Microsoft and contact center because contact center is the one thing that I think is exploding even more than phone. It's crazy how well everyone is doing contact center. Zoom came out of nowhere. They were going to buy Five9, and then they said, you know what, we'll just make our own out of nowhere, and they're, oh my god, right? WebEx. You know, everyone is contact center to contact center, growth. Like it seems like every company's biggest growth area, and Microsoft's. Everyone else's story is very simple. Zoom is use us, right? WebEx is use us. Microsoft's story is not so simple. What is their contact center strategy story?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they know. Um, Let's start with the basics. You've got call center functionality in Microsoft Teams. You can build auto attendance, you could build ring groups, things like that. Very basic call center voice only functionality. You get that in Teams Phone. You can set those up if you're a Teams admin in the Teams admin center. It's fine. You've got the Queues app, which means you can do some really cool stuff with voice calls. You can use skill-based routing and all the good stuff like that. And then you've got the Dynamics 365 Contact Center, which kind of brings in omni-channel, but not fully. And how could we talk about Contact Center without reporting and analytics? If you've tried to run a contact center on Teams, you are restricted somewhat in your reporting. The reports that are there are good, but they aren't extensive compared to someone like a WebEx, an 8x8, a platform with its own contact center and vast reporting suite. That's good and bad because one, you can either leverage Teams if that's all you need, and that's fine. You keep everything single platform, the Teams dream, the Microsoft dream. However, they've got the full contact center program, the extensibility program that means all of these vendors that you just mentioned can also plug into Teams and you can run their contact center with Teams phone. I'm working with a few contact center providers now who are targeting Teams phone customers rather than any old customer because that's where the market fit is for their product. They've pivoted to be for Teams, which is something I predicted a while back. I did say we'd see Ring Central for Teams, I think was the brand that I used at the time, because everything was making a Teams integration. Just like we saw Skype for Business, we saw Viber for Business, WhatsApp for Business. I kind of thought the four Teams would take over. We're not quite there, but everyone is plugging into Teams, right?
Oh,
You've got all these contact center options. They go through the certification process. Even Zoom are going through the certification process. It might even be complete by the time this video is up. So you'll have Zoom Contact Center for Teams, WebEx Contact Center for Teams is live, it works, and it's really good, right? If that's what you need within Teams and using Teams Phone, you can just use it.
Right. It's like everything else. It's powerful. It's great. You should be taking a look at it and maybe using it. It just takes a little explaining. It's a little complicated.
If omnichannel is too much, which it is for a lot of people, you have again third-party players like a Kixi, Tollring, Tiger who do analytics solutions, so you can take bits and pieces. Say you just need the analytics portion of that omnichannel contact center, but you don't need web chat, you don't need email because you just take calls. You can go and just take that reporting element instead of buying $100 per user solution. Instead, you buy the $15 per user analytics package and add that on as well. So the Teams phone and contact center story is together. It's very much kind of piece it together, which isn't what we traditionally see with Microsoft. I think a lot of people still think you go Microsoft, you go all in, you go SharePoint, OneDrive,
Right.
Teams, everything. But to answer
Not
your
here.
question originally, what's the contact center strategy? It's not that, unless that's all you need. Will it be the same in a few years' time? I think so, because I can't see Microsoft stripping the APIs away and saying, you know what, Cisco, we're not going to play nice anymore. And we know that they are friends. Cisco and Microsoft are friends because they shared the stage on Enterprise Connect in each other's keynotes, didn't they?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that's the next thing we should get into is, a big part of Microsoft Teams is rooms and video. Hello, let's do video. And surprising, the big surprise last year, 2 years ago was making a Microsoft Teams call on a Cisco device. That's not something that can actually happen. That's not something we can actually do. And it sold a lot of Cisco bars. I thought it was bad for Cisco because I think Cisco, hey, use WebEx, but they sold a lot of video bars with pushing Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. So when I was writing this, it took a long time and I read a lot of blog posts. My favorite blog post title was What's New on Cisco Devices for Microsoft Teams. There's a whole category within Cisco called Cisco Devices for Microsoft Teams. If you rewind 10 years ago, that crazy, like that collaboration between the two companies, we never thought would happen. Having worked with Mio for such a long time, where it's message interop and we saw video interop with people like Pexip originally, and then it became native. The friendship is blossoming, I think. Whether it was forced at the beginning, I don't know. I can't comment, but it seems like it's in both parties' best interests to play nice, right? Especially, as you said, in meeting room technology.
And in the customer's best interest. Finally.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's almost like if you put the customer first, you'll sell more stuff.
Right. Should we get into the whole MDEP discussion? I feel like that's like just something that's good for the world that came out of Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert there, so if you want to lead on that, that's absolutely fine.
I'll give the real quick the MDEP story, which is when the best way to explain this is why isn't there an MDEP for Zoom? When Zoom first came out with Zoom Rooms, they said to the developers, feature parity on the Windows version and any Android version. It has to work the same. A Zoom customer, they don't know if they're using Android or Windows. The buttons have to be all in the same place. And so to this day, Zoom runs the same on Android as it does on Windows. Microsoft doesn't play that way. Microsoft was like, no, you're going to run it on Windows. Android is an abomination to the world. We don't like Android. You're going to run it on Windows, and that's the way it's going to be. And the bar manufacturers, we have a neat bar up there, we're like, Android's really nice in a bar. Having a whole Windows in a bar, you're really making us put Windows in a bar. We want Android. We're using Android. And Microsoft couldn't get it to work. They were too far behind. They were in version 30. They had so many features. They couldn't backtrack that many features that had working in Windows and make them. It was too much. So they came up with their own operating system. This is a lockdown version of Android, which is beautifully, ideally suited to do audio video. Zoom works good on it. It's not just good for Microsoft. Other video software works good on this special, wonderful MDEP Android version that all of our hardware people are putting in their bars. So MDEP is like a good thing to the world that came out of, and it's just, if Teams wasn't such a juggernaut for Microsoft, they wouldn't have bothered to do this.
That's the word, isn't it? Juggernaut. Yeah. There's so much cross-platform within, I was going to say large businesses, but any business, really, if you think about it, that it had to happen. I think any form of interop, cross-platform play, federation, it's good for everyone that uses any element of any platform, chat, calling, videos. Like you said, it's customer first. It has to be that way, otherwise the solution isn't going to work, and then you're not going to use the Teams portion because you like the Zoom portion or whatever it might be. So playing nice is the way forward, and I think everybody's come to that conclusion in the last few years.
And one theme that I got from reading the report, and it's going to seem like Microsoft bashing, but I think it is what it is you had a list of features that they've added, and they're good features, and they're important features. Things that make the video basic video call better. I don't remember if I could scroll through, but and for a lot of them, you said now competitors already have this, but we still have to give them credit for having it. And what that means to me is that Microsoft Teams has been beating competitors with more features just because they're Microsoft and have that Microsoft edge of, hey, we're there. And now they're playing, and it's good that they're playing catch up, so at least the customers will get the features at the end. But I hate to say it, Microsoft Teams didn't become the juggernaut because it was the best product. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad product. They did a really good job. It's crazy what they've done with Microsoft Teams. But that's not how. I mean, it had to be good to win. But that's not how it won. It won because of all the Microsoft stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I've used comparisons in there to Slack quite a bit, just because when I was first involved with Microsoft Teams, I was a Slack user. And I think I've always drawn comparisons into the chat interface and anything you plug into the interface. And Slack was very easy to use. You could just use it. Teams was very clunky to begin with. Certainly, I'm talking chat specifically here. It was just less organized with threads and uploading files and even emojis and things like that. They just weren't quite what they should have been. They didn't look like your iPhone. They looked like an older Microsoft device, right? And all the vendors have been through this as they've added chat and tried to keep up with things like Discord and consumer products. But as you said, Microsoft has been drip feeding these when they're ready rather than rushing them and adding a beta version of whatever, which some people do, and then they get it wrong, and then they take the feature away, and then it comes back, and it's not the same. So I think they've done it the right way. And we shouldn't be talking about feature parity between platforms because they should all have their own unique features and use cases and things like that. But there are some things that I think Microsoft has realized we need to be as good or offer the same functionality as a Slack, a Zoom, a WebEx, whoever, in certain categories for the user, again, right, for the customer. so that they have no reason to move away. They can no longer say, oh, the XYZ experience isn't as good. I can't do this in Teams, but I used to do it in whatever. That's kind of gone away now. And as a Slack advocate in 2016, probably all the way through to pre-pandemic, I don't use Slack anymore.
Yeah.
I love Slack, but I don't need to use Slack anymore because so many people are on Teams. With all my customer engagements, they put me on their Teams, right? I have, it's probably, the ratio is probably 80-20 in terms of Teams to Slack now. And that's correct as per the active user stats, right? It should be that way. But I'm no longer feeling like, oh, I wish we were just using Slack with this customer because everything's in Teams now.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot better. It's earned its customers after the fact. But as long as the customers
That's a
are
good way of
happy at
putting
the
it.
end, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, it's like they took the plunge knowing Microsoft had the resources and experience and talent to deliver. Or maybe they didn't, and it's a nice surprise.
Yeah. And they're still playing catch up. I still hear that the video. I think it's one of the three or four best video experiences on the planet. It's good
Mm.
video, and there's some still mediocre video out there, but people are still saying that it's not, it's not ideal. They're still saying they have bad calls now and
Yeah.
then. Not that it's terrible. Oh no, don't send me a Teams invite. It never works for me. Yeah, fine. Send me a Teams invite. It always works for me. But especially CEO level, I've heard more than one story about CEOs who say, we're canceling the Zoom. I'm not paying for Zoom and Teams. Get rid of Zoom. We'll just use Teams everywhere. And then their first Teams meeting in the big boardroom, they say, give me back my Zoom. The
Yeah.
little people will be fine. It's good enough with their good enough video, but give me back my Zoom. So there's still a little bit of a quality gap, but it's definitely catching up.
I think in low bandwidth scenarios, all platforms struggle, right? I think WebEx has the feature where it descales the video so that does it descale the video so the bandwidth doesn't interrupt with it, something like that. It might not even be WebEx. One of the major platforms does it right so that you're not impacted. It does it behind the scenes. You don't need to press anything. I think that's really good. But that's the same with with cell call quality where I live. If I make a cell phone call from my house, I don't expect it to be good because the cell reception is so bad where I live. I have to connect to the Wi-Fi, make a call that way. If you're making a Teams call or you're on a Teams meeting in somewhere with poor connectivity, it's going to be bad, right? And I wish there was some kind of standard that automatically upscaled or descaled something just to make it good. I don't know what that technology is. I'm not smart enough to pitch that to you, but wouldn't
Well,
that be good?
there is, but it's patented. WebEx does a
There we
good
go.
job with it, but they're using a version of the protocol. So they're using the
Right.
standard, but they got a little extra flavor. Zoom does a really good job with that too. They got a little extra sauce in the protocol there, and that extra sauce, I'm sure, is, not for everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
oh my God, when I started this industry, if you got 2% packet loss, the entire call would drop. And now, the better systems can handle it, but some better than others.
Yeah. It goes back to what you said about Teams Phone as well, right? The uptake is there, and the adoption is there with the customers that are using it because it's so good. There's also the fixed mobile convergence portion of it, so that Teams Phone Mobile is pretty hot at the minute. I've worked with and continue to observe from afar the Tango Networks element where Teams is now your mobile number, or your mobile number is Teams, depending on which way you look at it. So I can have a call, I can have someone call me in the UK, it'd be a oh 07 number for a mobile, and I answer it on Teams, or vice versa. My Teams app rings and it's a mobile call, or I just use the native dialer and it uses Teams Phone in the background. That's the bigger use case. I think that's really cool. But again, that is dependent on your connectivity, right? So the call is still going to drop if you're somewhere with poor signal.
Yeah, nothing they can do about that.
But fixed mobile convergence is back, right?
So, are there any other major sections of the document that we didn't cover?
I think the final one that I'd touch on is community. The
Yes.
the team's ecosystem of partners is one thing, Everybody's involved, right? We've spoken about how Zoom, WebEx, 8x8, Ring Central, these are all competitors of Microsoft. They all have solutions for Teams or that work with Teams at least. And they have Microsoft people embedded in their businesses now. That's one portion of it. But then there's also the flag bearers, the cheerleaders, the people that just do good stuff outside. And these are the MVPs who may do it for the MVP status. They may do it for
Our friend Tom.
fun, right? Tom is the prime example,
That's
right?
great.
Tom is Mr. Microsoft Teams. Tom is known in my house as Microsoft Tom. My girlfriend knows who Microsoft Tom is, and she's not in the industry. Um,
If you're not
but there are
following him
people
on
like Tom.
LinkedIn, and you follow him on LinkedIn. I can't even know how to finish
Yeah,
that sentence. You got
yeah,
to follow Tom on LinkedIn.
yeah. There are lots of people like this, right? Teams Phone. Mark Vail in the UK knows everything about Teams Phone. Don't think I'm exaggerating there. But there are lots of Teams people, MVPs or otherwise, that just produce good content. They keep you up to date. They are more than worth their value as a follow on LinkedIn or whatever platform we're following people on these days. But they don't just say how great Teams is. It's not Teams, Teams, Teams. It's here's how you fix this problem. Here's how I deployed this with this customer. You might find this useful. This broke. Here's how I fix it. Beware of this. It's not ready yet. Something like that. It all falls under the banner of community. And I think that's probably where the Teams has its biggest strength. I've never seen anything like it before. WebEx has a phenomenal ecosystem of partners. I don't really know who runs it these days, but Justin Ramirez, who's now at Five9, did a great job of partner management and enablement, whatever you want to call it. That Cisco ecosystem still exists and thrives today, but within probably the wider Microsoft community, not just Teams, it's phenomenal. The amount of online and in person participation there is, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it is an amazing community. I mean, just following on LinkedIn is there's so much content coming out, and like you said, it's not all just cheerleading. I do a lot of cheerleading, but I also think I put out some good tutorials and stuff. But it's not just cheerleading. It's like, okay, here's an in-depth thing on how, like you said, how to fix this issue or that issue. But it's funny. It's like we were talking before about how early versions of Team Chat, it just didn't. Right, it was a little programmery. It wasn't as friendly. I find the same thing with the community. It's a perfect example of how I see Teams and Microsoft. So this is the Microsoft Teams Community Hub, and it's very active. They don't give their numbers. Supposedly the numbers for
Oh, it's so active. I've written some blog posts in there which are on hundreds of thousands of views. They're how to do X with Y. They are how to connect A, B, and C. And you have your status on your profile icon. I think I'm just a contributor, but you have people that are superstars, champions, whatever they want to call them, that they spend a huge portion of their day, sometimes after their 9 to 5 job, as well as part of their role might be evangelizing the technology and everything like that. But they just have to always be in the know. They are that person that will help you. You go and see the comments. I'm like, oh, Graham Walsh, meeting rooms, Microsoft Teams. He knows absolutely everything. And you see his name just pop up. Someone's asked a question about a meeting room. He's answered it. He's got the answer. He does a great 9 to 5 job for Neat, but he also does everything to do with Microsoft Teams rooms. It's incredible.
And I love communities like this. It's we still the old days of the forums aren't what they used to be. It used to be on the forums all day, but we still have our forums. And like you mentioned, we still have our forum warriors. They're there after work. They have to check out the new thing because if there's someone they can help, I know the answer to this. It's such a good feeling. And this is a great active community. But look at the look and feel of it. It's a little Microsofty. If you look at Zooms,
it's kind of like Yammer.
Zooms is a little bit more buttony, a little bit more zoomy, a little bit more pretty. It's just so funny how it's the perfect Zoom thing. But Microsoft is a juggernaut. The Microsoft numbers they released 5 years ago was 500,000. So it's got to be like 10 times that now. But that was for the whole Microsoft, not just Teams. But Zoom has 420,000 members, like 3,000 online now. So I wouldn't see there's nothing like it in the Microsoft community. It's not in a class by itself, but it is like we said, it is a juggernaut. And
Mm.
not to take away from everything you're saying about the community, it is amazing. But I just want to give, I just want to say they're not the only ones who have an active. Look at these people are there talking about Zoom all day. These people are there talking about Microsoft all day.
I like that they have the leaderboard, but I feel like it kind of lends itself to being the same people the whole time. That's the problem with any gamification element, isn't it? Like people will want to be there. There's an app, I forget what the app's called, that UC Today used to use to encourage people to share content and participate in the community. It was not Chatable or something like that, but it was good. But I found myself a little bit addicted to sharing posts and commenting just to
I'm
try and maintain my
susceptible to that.
status on the leaderboard. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's if you give me a number and I can press a button and make that number go up, I'm clicking that button.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for gamification.
Yeah. There's if you use the app Wova for events,
No.
they have leaderboards in there for sharing things, and if you arrange your own meetup, you get 20,000 points and things like that. So I did arrange a meetup at a conference before, and then realized I double booked myself. So pros and cons.
Yeah, I think Zoomtopia and WebEx1 had leaderboards for sharing on Twitter and stuff, and Zayas Caravello always at the top.
Yep. Him and Evan Castell, Twitter kings.
Yeah. All right, so wrapping it up, if there's anyone who is not completely convinced, you need to immediately go to LinkedIn. We'll put the link below and find this report and bookmark it and check it every few weeks for updates. What can we tell them to make that conversion happen?
Yeah, no pressure. I don't think I can commit to updating it as much as Microsoft. Although, small plug for Change Pilot, which is Tom Arbuthnot's, I'm not going to call it side project. It's a company he's involved with. If you are a Microsoft admin and you are overwhelmed with the amount of updates and it's not in my team's report, then Change Pilot will kind of automate that for you and say, here's what happened, which is a great little tool, which I've actually linked to at the end of the report. So go read the report and then click at the end to Change Pilot. That'd be great. Yeah, I will update this maybe on a quarterly basis. That feels manageable and realistic, one for me, but also I don't want to be updating it every single day because then it'll be completely different anytime anybody reads it.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll put the links you need in the comments below, and as always, please like and subscribe.